Hello again. Last year I announced that I was writing a game called the Doom of Ages. I'm just going to call it up now so things get a little bit brighter. And the Doom of Ages was going to be my attempt at doing a high fantasy, or at least like an epic fantasy role-playing game. It's going to be my... I'm a massive fan of Tolkien, and I wanted to do my kind of take on what an epic fantasy role-playing or epic setting would be. And it was also going to be Farsight Games' first physical publication. Everything I've released up to yet is on PDF. Excuse me. So this was going to be my first physical publication. So it's only going to be about like 32 pages. Again, rules light, and I was going to get it sort of printed out. Get about 150 copies printed out, and then sort of give them out and sell them at conventions. I've got it all designed, I got all the background written and everything, and I just realised that I simply didn't like the game system. I was doing a rules like D100 system, and I was trying to be clever, and I was trying to force it to work, and I just wasn't happy with it. So I've decided to delay it for quite a while, and because I've got other things going on as well. So I've decided to delay it for quite a while and work on a new system, or at least adapt an existing system of mine that I'm comfortable with. But what I thought I'd do now is read you, in my best Shakespeare voice, the actual background of Doom of Ages. So this is what I was going to do. This was going to be in the book, or at least a version of this was going to be in, but this is all first draft stuff. Excuse me whilst I'm looking at the screen to read it out. I'm literally doing it off a Word document. So yeah, the Doom of Ages. Excuse me. So this was going to be the introduction to the rulebook. It has been a generation since the Dire Lords swept from the north to conquer the realms of Atlantis, known by all as Freeland. See, I've cocked it up already. I've pronounced Atlantis, and it's actually Atlantis. It's not Atlantis at all. So I'm going to start again. This is why I don't go. I'm not on the stage at all. Okay, the first 2 minutes of the play, it's all gone wrong. The Doom of Ages. Introduction. It has been a generation since the Dire Lords swept from the north to conquer the realms of Atlantis, known by all as Freeland. A long forgotten enemy of ages gone, the Dire Lord was thought banished to the icy wastes of the Wendlass Mountains, beyond which no explorer has dared to venture. Reduced to a mere folktale, the Dire Lord built his army of vile orcs and repulsive hobgoblins and swept south. The three realms of Freeland, man, elf and dwarf, put aside their differences and created an alliance, and for years they battled the forces of the Dire Lord until the two great armies met on the fields of Eldra, where the great heroes who had scoured the realms for fighters and ancient magic artifacts gathered for the final battle against the darkness. And they lost. When the High King of Quenstorn Fayston was pulled from his horse and butchered by the Dire Lord's demon guard, the heroes were thrown into disarray and fell one by one. After 3 days of hard fighting, from the Mersk Hills to the River Sealfor, every hero who had been forged by the Dire War was dead, and though they suffered heavy losses, the forces of the Dire Lord were victorious. The River Sealfor cuts across the land and divides the realms into north and south. The Dire Lord, his forces severely depleted, has not yet crossed the wide, fast-flowing river as he tries to replenish his forces. The land he has conquered is slowly becoming as the icy wastes to the north as he drags his evil south with him. He has declared the Northlands as his dire realm, and has turned the once beautiful fortress of the High King, Quenston Fayston, into a haunted tower of death and terror. It has become the Orkness Fayston. Meanwhile, the remaining warriors of the Alliance have fled south to relative safety, in the hope that they can regroup and gather more forces of their own. With no heroes and no High King of Quenston Fayston to guide them, the Alliance has fractured and broken. The elves, already low in number, have no interest in furthering the conflict and are even speaking of suing for peace. The dwarves have begun to retreat further south to build new homes in the Suffered Mountains, and men have split into different quarrelling factions who disagree on every course of action. Meanwhile, each of the realms is in disagreement over who the next High Ruler to sit on the throne of tears should be. The previous king left no heir. What the land needs are leaders and fighters, the inspiration and heart to keep fighting, to put aside their issues and come together to face the Dire Lord when he inevitably crosses the River Sealfor and begins the second Dire War. The land needs heroes. The Doom of Ages is a rules-light role-playing game in a fantasy world not much unlike our own, where magic exists and fabulous creatures abound. At this time, the Dire Lord has seized control of the north of the realms and is gathering his armies to push further south, and the realms of men, elves and dwarves are in disarray as all of their heroes and leaders are gone. So yeah, so that was basically the actual setting. I'll just close that down. That was basically the actual setting of the entire game. I was quite pleased with it. I was imagining. I've read settings whereas like what would happen if the Dark Lord sort of won the war, and there's some fantastic settings with that kind of premise. But my conceit was, if you imagine that Sauron had been beaten in the War of the Ring, but he hadn't actually died, and he was just basically sort of pushed back, and now they were kind of waiting for the next assault, for the next attack, and each side was trying to get its forces built up, ready for the next battle, and that's kind of the angle I was going for. So it's still a work in progress. I do intend to get it released at some point. I do intend to get it finished written at some point, but it will be my first physical release, and I'm looking forward to seeing it out and in the wild at some point. So, bit of a taster. I won't tell you what the system was like because it's actually a little bit embarrassing. It's not embarrassing at all, actually. It was a D100 system, and you rolled and they rolled, and then the difference between the rolls determined how much damage you'd done and armour soak. And for a rules-like game, it was a little bit daft. There's a lot of math involved. Sorry, maths. There's a lot of maths involved. And so yeah, I decided not to go with that. I'll try something different. So that's that. So thanks very much for listening, and ta-ra!